This is the French Riviera, an area along France's southern Mediterranean coast made up of several cities all blending together to make up one of the richest and most notable regions in the world. Here you'll find multi-million-dollar homes, yachts that are bigger than the average American apartment, all wrapped up in a culture that caters to the super rich. Here in Cannes, you'll see tons of signs that celebrate the cinema culture here, which is not surprising that it hosts one of the most important film festivals in the world, the Cannes Film Festival. In what could be the most expensive real estate in the world, with the most expensive restaurants in the world, it got me curious how a region like this would take on more traditionalized American comfort foods. But we'll circle back to all of that, because in this video, we're gonna start out on the two islands just off the coast of the mainland Riviera, where history is still alive with mystery and intrigue. This island holds the prison where the man in the Iron Mask was imprisoned. And on the smaller island, a 1,000-year-old monastery still stands and functions today and holds the only restaurant on the islands, and it's there that I'll begin to find out just how France takes on classic American comfort food. I'm Dave Kaufman. I travel to distant, exotic places and places a little closer to home to indulge in the culture and cuisine from the familiar to the extreme. There's always an open seat at my table for you, and sure, I'll pick up the tab. This is Dave Kaufman Eats the World. Leaving the mainland on a ferry to Santa Marguerite, I wanted to dive into the history of what may be the most famous prisoner in human history, the man in the Iron Mask. In the most imposing building of the fort, called the Old Castle, which was built in the 17th century on the remains of buildings built in the Roman period and the Middle Ages. It was during this period that a state prison was opened on this remote island, in which people accused of all sorts of crimes they most often did not commit were incarcerated here without trial. It was usually people who could present a risk to the monarchy, namely Protestants or people who committed crimes of opinion against the king, and people were even imprisoned here for the cardinal crime of, well, just selling books. But of course, the most famous prisoner to be incarcerated here was the man in the Iron Mask. His true identity is still questioned to this day, hundreds of years later. They even made a movie about it back in the 90s. Yeah, I didn't see it either. But while the movie was based on Dumas' tale of King Louis XIV's twin brother actually being the man in the Iron Mask, historical clues tell another tale, which probably more aligns itself with the truth. What remained a mystery for hundreds of years was his true identity and why he was in prison. The man in the Iron Mask was actually a real person by the name of Eustache Douchy, who was arrested in 1669 and was imprisoned for more than 3 decades. But the only person who actually knows the truth was Douchy himself, who died in his prison cell in 1703, taking the truth with him when he died. And it's here in this prison that the man in the Iron Mask was held for 30 years. And to this day, it's a complete mystery who this man actually was. And this right here is the cell that the man in the Iron Mask was held in for 30 years. You can see here the prison bars over the window, but he had a hearth right here where he could have a fire to cook, to do whatever. It's a pretty large cell, actually. I don't think that he had a dehumidifier in it, but he had his own toilet right here. So with the tale of the man in the Iron Mask in our rear view, we took another ferry to the second island, Santo Honora. There has been a monastery here since the 5th century named l'Iron-Sabie. The construction of the current monastery buildings began around 1073. In the French Revolution, the island became the property of the state and was sold to a wealthy actress who lived here for 20 years. But then in 1859, the island was bought by a bishop who sought to re-establish a religious community here, and this monastery has remained active ever since. The monks here cultivate wine, liqueur, their own vegetables, and get most of their electricity from numerous solar panels. And it's on this island just up ahead over here that there's a little restaurant right on the seashore. That's an island, I guess it's all seashore. This is La Tonille Les Canis, and it's the only restaurant on these islands. It's a full-service restaurant featuring French favorites, and it's here that I'll finally discover how the French tackle a cheeseburger. So one of the things that I've noticed about the burgers here in France, and it doesn't matter if you're here in the French Riviera or if you're up in Paris, the burgers in this country are freaking huge. Look at this thing. This thing is a monster burger. That patty is nice and thick, but this is just a simple cheeseburger with cheddar, and it's served with this heaping fry basket of fries. and a little arugula salad on the side. So whether you're at a restaurant on the mainland in Cannes or Nice, or here on this island, one of the cool things that they give you is your own little jar of ketchup, and then look at this, your own little jar of mayonnaise. Now, here in Europe, they don't use ketchup on their fries, they use mayonnaise on their fries. I am going to do the American thing and mix both of these together for my fry sauce. So I ordered mine medium rare. We're going to cut this open, see if it's actually medium rare. But man, look at that cheese just melting off of there. So the buns that they're going to use here are going to be fresh baked French rolls. They're not going to be kind of the buns that are served in a bag and they're held in the back. These are fresh made buns. That cheese doesn't look like pre-made pasteurized cheddar cheese. It looks fresh. It probably is made fresh right here in France, and that burger looks absolutely amazingly juicy. This looks delicious. So I'm going to quit talking about it, and we're just going to try it out. Oh yeah, that is absolutely amazing. The meat is nice and juicy and savory, and that melted cheddar cheese, coupled with that fresh-made bun, this is one amazing cheeseburger. And not only that, but one of the things that makes this cheeseburger really delicious is that sauce that they have. It's a homemade burger sauce, they call it. It has the kind of look and feel to Thousand Island dressing or Big Mac sauce, but it really takes the flavor of this French cheeseburger to an entirely different level. But I'm eating a cheeseburger on an island off the coast of the French Riviera. The ambiance, the culture, the cheeseburgers makes this place absolutely amazing. All right, so now that we've tried the cheeseburger, let's try these, well, authentic French fries, because, you know, we're in France. Let's try these out. Tastes like a French fry. So now that we've explored these two islands off the coast of the French Riviera, tonight we're heading back to the mainland and we are going to see how the French handle pizza. And back on the mainland as the sun began to set, driving amongst the ruins of a Roman port that existed during the height of the Roman Empire, we explored the streets of Cannes to find the perfect place to take on another famed comfort food: pizza. Sure, there are tons of places that serve pizza here, but we wanted to find a place that not only specializes in pizza, we wanted to find the best pizza place in the city. One that still makes pizza in old brick ovens and has been doing it this way for decades. And yes, this place will do nicely. La Pizza Crécy, a family restaurant that's been making pizzas for almost 70 years. Here pizzas are still made by an actual pizza chef who's been making pizzas in the same brick oven for decades. But we'll get to that later. First, it's time for my other French passion. But you can't come here to southern France and have pizza without also enjoying a glass of French wine. This is Le Vin de Crécy from the Côte de Provence, which is a regional wine here in France. This is France. We're going to try out this wine here. Oh yeah. Very smooth. It speaks to me of springtime in Paris. So when you're at a pizza place here in Cannes, you have to make some choices. What I was going to originally do is I was originally going to get just pepperoni so that I could kind of compare that to the pepperoni that we may be used to in the United States. But then I thought, well, that's like coming here and driving an expensive Italian sports car and then going back home and comparing that to a Chevy. So what I elected to get is the tartufata. It's pizza served with truffle cream, cheese, Parma ham, arugula, and with a big dollop of burrata, which is like a mozzarella, but it's much more juicy and creamy. So as promised, let's get back to how they make their pizzas. Each pizza is handmade on homemade hand-tossed pizza dough that isn't quite the recipe we might be used to across the pond. Think of the dough as more of a, well, flat baguette, I guess is the easiest way to describe it. Then Then, depending on the pizza, the sauce, the cheese, meats, and other ingredients are added, and then it's slid into an old brick oven until they are steaming and bubbling hot. Kinda like the magma in a volcano, but why would I use such a tired old metaphor like that? Seriously, my shame would be perpetual if I used such a dumb metaphor like that. So anyway, once the hot, cheesy, volcanic magma... seriously? And the way that they serve pizzas here is they literally cut it in half. They don't cut it into little triangles or squares like we may be used to. They serve you literally half an uncut pizza. And then you just cut it yourself into these triangles. And look at that. You can see the truffle base, that rich, creamy cheese loaded with arugula on a French baked crust. That is one good looking slice of pizza. We're just gonna go in and try this out. Wow, I am beyond happy with my choice not to get just a pepperoni pizza, but to get this instead. That truffle paste is absolutely amazing. That cheese is nice and creamy. The flavor has kind of a hint of mozzarella, but it's much more creamy, a little bit more salty than mozzarella. The arugula just adds so much flavor to this pizza. However, our friend Charlotte over there did in fact order the pepperoni. I'm gonna try her pizza out. So here the pepperoni pizza looks pretty different than an American pepperoni pizza. They use several different kinds of cheeses, and the pepperoni is thick cut, not thinly sliced. And the crust of this pizza is basically just like French bread in a pizza crust. All right, so thanks to Charlotte, I can now try out the pepperoni pizza. Here we go, we're just gonna try this out. Exactly as I thought. The pepperoni, again, is thick cut, very savory, absolutely delicious. Those cheeses are so artisanal. This is unlike any pepperoni pizza you're going to find anywhere else in the world. You have to come here to the south of France to actually enjoy this pepperoni pizza. The crust is just as good as any French bread that you've ever tried. But again, comparing this pepperoni pizza to American or Canadian pepperoni pizza is exactly as I said. Coming here and trying this pepperoni pizza and then trying to compare this to American or even Canadian pepperoni pizza, it is like driving an expensive Italian car here and then going back and driving a Chevy. There is absolutely no comparison. This is absolutely delicious. You know, oftentimes when I travel, I want to completely immerse myself in the culture and the cuisine of the places I travel to. And other times, I just kind of want to experience the familiar and see how a different region, a different country, a different area takes on more familiar comfort foods. And so I just had to see what the French could do with a cheeseburger and pizza, and I was absolutely not disappointed. So guys, if you're hungry for more, check out that video right there. If you're starving for more, check out that playlist right there. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Right now, I'm in the French Riviera. I'm gonna go do something. I have no idea what that something is. You know, I mean, it's gonna be something.